Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be an overview of some palettes that I revisited. These are all older palettes that I wanted to get some more use out of, and these are all of my thoughts now that I've tried them again. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. If you're into eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of your products the way I am, then definitely stay tuned because this video will be right up your street. I am going to be talking about 6 palettes that I wanted to try again. These are palettes that I have had sometimes for years, or that I just said I loved so much that I wanted to go back to them again and try them. So I had a bit of a festive selection for this time round. Happy New Year as well if you're watching this the day the video goes live, because this video is going to go live on January 1st. So yeah, thank you for being here. In case you're new here and you've never watched one of my videos, it may be good to know that I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and it greatly skews my makeup preferences. And because I have been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade, I also have some very strong favorites. So if you would like to join the Snow Angel Club, just click subscribe down below. So yes, I tried 6 palettes this month that I had already reviewed in the past, just to see how I like them again, and I may have changed my opinions on some of these now that I've tried them again. So I'm definitely going to fill you in on that, and as we're going along, I will make sure to insert some of the looks that I did, and I will make sure to link you to any of the original reviews I did with these down in the description box down below, so if you want to see swatches and some other looks I already did with these, because some of these I use with some singles that I was playing around with as well, so I didn't just use the palette sometimes. But yeah, I'll show you all the looks and stuff I did as well in this video, what I did this round. So that's what I've got going on for you in this video. And the first palette I need to chat to you about is this little guy from Charlotte Tilbury. This is her Vintage Vamp Quad. Now, I'm not sure whether this is still called the Vintage Vamp, because she did rename a lot of her products, and this is very old in my makeup collection, and this tends to be my Christmas Day eyeshadow palette, and it has been for years. Christmas Day, I bust this guy out, and that's it. This time around, I played it up a little bit differently than I normally do, because instead of using the sparkly shimmer that comes in the palette, I roped in one of the singles that I have from Glam Shop. Those were the singles I was playing with, and I thought the look came out really prettily. The single went with this perfectly, and then I actually was wearing a very dark burgundy dress that day, and I decided to pair my Velvet Myth lipstick from Eldridge with this look because it matched the dress, and it just made for the perfect Christmas Day look. This, especially these 3 shades, give you like a perfect layer to just work with and create a very sort of classic glam look. And this was one that I wanted to go back to because my Charlotte Tilbury quads aren't ones that I use a lot, and I have said this in the past about the brand that I don't love their eyeshadow formula. But now that I've used it again, I'm like, ooh, I think I'm going to hang on to this and keep it for another year because I just really love the way these plummy shades look on me. I think from all of the quads that she does and that I have personally tried, this may actually be the best for my coloring, which is why I did like it. That little bit of plum that it has makes my eyes look a little bit more green, which I love because I do have brown eyes, but there are little flecks of green in there, and if I wear certain types of makeup, my eyes can look a little bit more hazel rather than straight up brown, and this is one of those palettes that I feel does it in a very subtle yet pretty way. So I felt really awesome wearing this look, which is why I think this is definitely one I want to stick around. I wanted to go back to my Persona Identity palette as well. Persona Identity is one of my favorite neutral palettes, but I have found through using this that there are a couple of things that I would want to be different about this palette, and that's the fact that we just get mattes and shimmers in this. We don't get any like cute top coats or like anything that's more sparkly or metallic. It's just mattes and a satiny shimmer formula that leans metallic but isn't foily. So especially if you're someone with mature lids, this is going to look stunning on you. Like if you experience metallic shades just falling off your eyes because they've gotten a little wrinkly over time, then I think this is a really great formula. I did a look just like centering around this like taupey shade because what else are we gonna do? I also really like this shade here, but I have felt that some of the mattes in here are a little bit too dark for it to really work for me as a neutral. I was able to make it work. I put this one in the crease, and I love the way this look came out. I definitely will be keeping this around, but I definitely feel now that I've tried it again, it's reminded me of some of the limitations this has and why I feel my Tartelette in Bloom is still my favorite over this. I feel they're very much like up to par. If the Tarte is easier to get a hold of for you, then maybe go with this one. If you want to buy some Persona, you can get it through their official website. And I remember when I bought 2 of their palettes, it was I think I got free shipping as well, and it wasn't all that expensive in the end. These palettes retail for around 40 euros, and I feel you get some amazing quality in it. So really great quality. I love what this palette gives me. I definitely don't want to get rid of this anytime soon, but I do feel that perhaps in the grander scheme of things, I by now want something a little bit more from a palette. And I had to go back to this old favorite. This is the Violette Étendu from Viseart, and it just reminded me again of why I love the Viseart formula so much. This is by now one of my favorite high-end formulas, and this is just such a lovely palette as well. I did go with a very neutral look when I used the palette again, because my favorite shade in the palette is this lavender taupey shade. That is absolutely stunning. So I just did something really basic with some of these mauve tones here, popped that all over the lid, and I love it every single time. The purples in here work really well too, but if this isn't purple enough, know that you can take these pans out, and that, for instance, if you have any other palettes from Viseart, you can mix and match accordingly. So I may have actually gotten myself the Lavande now, because I think that will add some cool tone purples that, for instance, I'm kind of missing in here. This goes pretty bright really quickly, and I don't love how this is more of a pink with a blue flash, rather than like a lighter purpley shimmer. If this would have had like a lighter shimmer in a purple shade, I would have liked it even more, but this is still one of my all-time favorite palettes. This is not going anywhere anytime soon. And then, if you've been here for a while, you know that I rearranged a lot of my Colourpop shadows, and I haven't really played with a lot of those rearranged color stories yet. I did play twice with the Menage à Moi, and I have to say I really like it. This is now my perfect mauve-toned eyeshadow palette for sure. It was warmer than I had expected. I felt that I put more of the warm tones in my Making Mauves palette, but I feel that this still has a bit of warmth, but it was perfect for the holiday season. It was really lovely. I did repress 2 shades from a Morphe and Jaclyn Hill Vault into this, so this isn't even old Colourpop shade. So if you're wondering, oh, I love that shade, yeah, that's from the the Bling Boss whatever palette from Jaclyn Hill and Morphe, that collab that they did a couple of years ago. So this was lovely. I really like the shades that I have in here. I love the 2 eyeshadow palettes or the eye looks that came out of this. This is definitely one that I can see myself reaching for again if it's like just a glammed up mauve look. This is what this palette is now giving me. I'm glad I finally got around to playing with this, and I just think that this is a very successful color story for me right now. I added something that had a little bit of depth. I took out all of the glitter shades this originally had, and then I just popped all of my favorite mauve tones from a couple of mauve tone palettes that I had from Colourpop into this. And as I mentioned, I did repress some other shadows to go into this. So yeah, this is a lovely palette. I'm really glad I made this. I know you cannot go out and readily buy this unless you have the same shades I had in my collection, but I really enjoy this. And this is just reminding me that, you know, Colourpop color stories just aren't always the best, and having rearranged them is one of the best decisions I took in the entirety of my makeup career on here. Then I also created 2 looks with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. Now I wanted to go back to this because this is one of those palettes where I feel I perhaps got caught up in the hype a little bit too much. I believe this was a Christmas limited edition collection, I think in 2018 or something around that time. And at the time, a lot of people were calling this a cool tone palette. Now granted, we were just coming out of this incredibly warm tone spell with all of these oranges and berry tones that people were pushing as neutrals. I mean, if you were around for that period of time, you know what I'm talking about. So compared to that, this is definitely cool toned. But as someone with a cooler undertone in their skin tone, it's not cool. It just isn't. I felt that the first look I did, I went more into like these shades because I was like, oh yeah, those are some of the cooler tones I remember being in here. In the top row, we get a lot of warmth. We get that rose quartz shade, which is a straight up warm tone. Let's not talk about these two because those are very warm. And also these like very light shades are like golds and champagnes, which are all very, very incredibly warm toned. And then I did that look and I was like, but it's warm toned. I wanted this to be a cool tone, bronzy brown look. It didn't. It pulled very warm on me. So I decided to play around with it again, and this is the look that you've seen me wearing almost every single day if you've watched my end of year favorite series that went live in the past week, because this was the palette I had used for that look. I used a little bit of Ember, I think that's what the shade is, on like the outer and inner corner of my eye, and then I popped a little bit of Cyborg in the middle, and then that was pretty much it. I think I used a bit of Ember along the lower lash line as well. So it was very quick, easy look, and those two shades are probably the only two shades that, now that I've used it again, that I would want to keep out of this entire palette. And this is one where I'm like, I think I'm going to try and salvage those two shades, and then I'm just going to declutter the entire palette. Because nothing in it, like, I love the shimmer formula in this. It's a really stunning shimmer formula. But I think compared to other ABH palettes I have, this may not warrant keeping around. And this is actually something that I hope to be able to do when I declutter my eyeshadow palette collection in the springtime, to take a couple of my ABH palettes and just take out the shades I like. And for instance, keep this packaging because I love the packaging, and just pop 14 ABH shades and create my own color story like I did with the Colourpop. Now, I've heard that ABH palettes can be a bit challenging to take apart though. So, but this is cardboard, so I'm pretty sure that I could destroy these completely and then just pop them into a singles palette. That could work, but there is a little bit of space, so I'm pretty sure that if I were to heat up the glue like I did with some of my Urban Decay and Too Faced palettes in the past year, that I might be able to pry these out. However, I've heard people being very unsuccessful doing that because ABH shadows are so soft and they tend to break apart really easily. So if you have any tips, or if you know of any creators who've taken apart their ABH palettes, then I would love to watch their videos. So any recommendations there are very welcome indeed, because this is definitely one that warrants destroying, but I would like to keep this packaging intact so I can put the other shades in, if that makes sense. If that's possible, that would be ideal. And then finally, a palette that I pulled out because it was the holiday season was the Urban Decay Naked Smoky. Now, if you're wondering, my favorite shades from this palette are these like grayish tone blues here in the middle. And those I was using to try and create a bit of a, well, festive look this year around as well. I tend to wear this only in the holiday season, and I tend to just stick to these gray tones here. Don't really tend to use the rest. And now that I've used it again, I was like, I'm not entirely sure I still need to keep this around. And I feel about this with a lot of my Urban Decay palettes by now. A lot of them are pretty old, and I'm never going to get rid of my Urban Decay palettes. Urban Decay palettes very much remind me of starting my makeup collection and like trying all the naked palettes and all that, but Urban Decay is a brand I think is going bust. I don't think they're going to be around for the rest of 2023, to be quite fair. They seem to be going on sale a lot. They pulled out of a lot of different markets as well. They're no longer available over here, for instance. So I'm just thinking that Urban Decay as a brand is just not really going to be one we're going to see for a very long time. I still have all the palettes I love, and those I'm going to hang on to for sure, but I think it's time to put those in a makeup memory box, and this is one that's definitely a contender for going in there. I mainly use these two shades for the look that I created, but I also roped in some of my Glam Shop singles with that look. I was going to my office Christmas party, and the theme was Back to the Future, and as a team we had decided we were gonna go as like futuristic robots with a hippie vibe, because then it went back into the future. So I just put on a sparkly top and like had a couple of like had a pair of shoes that I thought would go with it really well, and then I just kind of translated the theme more so into my makeup, because like I didn't want to go out and buy like new stuff for like a one single moment kind of thing, so I just did a very massive cut crease, used some multichrome eyeliners, but the base of the look was definitely created with some shades from this palette. So I did wear this, and it was definitely a little bit more of a creative look. So yeah, that's definitely something that I did there. Yeah, not a lot of the palette was used in the end, but I did use it enough to be able to tell, like, yeah, this is definitely out of its way on my collection, but I will never ever like chuck it in the bin. I'm going to hang on to this as like a lovely memory of what makeup used to be like. So yeah, those were the 6 palettes I wanted to go back to in December of 2022. We're already in 2023, but this is definitely a series that you can expect me to keep going. I have lots of other palettes that I still want to go back to, that I want to try. So I'm going to keep that train rolling, and you can expect another one of these videos by the end of the month. And currently, as of today, I'm starting a 31 days of one and done shadows over here on the channel, and I'm going to be posting them as shorts. I have a shorts playlist, but I think I'm just gonna have to make a playlist for all of these to go in one go, so that you can watch them back to back if you'd like to. And these will also be going live over on my TikTok, so if you'd like to follow me on there, it's floatingindreams_ as well. So I'd like to stay tuned for all of that goodness, and then I hope to see you in a lot of other videos this next year. Happy New Year again, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Bye-bye!